In the quiet, affluent suburbs of Boston, Massachusetts, the town of Wayland prided itself on its peaceful streets, excellent schools, and strong sense of community. It was the kind of place where life seemed to follow a predictable and comforting rhythm, where dreams were nurtured and futures seemed bright. Within this idyllic setting, Lauren Astley was a beacon of light and energy. Born on April 1, 1993, to Mary and Malcolm Astley, she was the cherished center of their universe. Both Mary and Malcolm were dedicated teachers, and they raised their daughter with a deep appreciation for education, but more importantly, for the virtues of honesty, integrity, and kindness. They hoped she would grow into a principled young woman who treated others with compassion, and Lauren exceeded their every hope. In 2006, when Lauren was a young teenager, her parents made the difficult decision to divorce. While the family structure changed, the unwavering wall of love and support they provided for their daughter remained stronger than ever. They shared custody amicably, ensuring Lauren's life was disrupted as little as possible, their bond as co-parents a testament to their profound love for her. By the time she turned 18, Lauren's life was a whirlwind of activity, a vibrant tapestry woven with passion, purpose, and remarkable achievement. To say she was involved would be an understatement. She seemed to possess an inexhaustible wellspring of energy. She was a gifted singer in a music group, a nimble athlete on the tennis and soccer fields, a devoted voice in the church choir, and a talented musician in the youth symphony orchestra. During the summers, she worked as a camp counselor, guiding younger children with patience and a sense of fun. Her love for the stage found its ultimate expression when she landed the lead role in a local arts center production of Annie, her powerful voice and charismatic presence captivating the audience. Her schedule was perpetually packed, leaving little room for downtime, but Lauren thrived on it. She was a petite young woman, standing at just 4 feet and 11 inches, but her personality was colossal. Her vibrant spirit and an indefinable charm left a lasting impression on everyone she met. Of all her artistic pursuits, performing was her greatest passion. Her beautiful, strong voice became a familiar and celebrated feature at nearly every school and community event. A moment of pure, unadulterated joy came when she was chosen as the lead singer for her high school's prestigious a cappella group, a recognition of her immense talent and dedication. Beyond her artistic and academic endeavors, Lauren had a heart devoted to service. The core of her being was wired to help others, whether they were her closest family and friends or complete strangers in need. She was a natural organizer, channeling her energy into a wide range of charitable activities. Her sincerity and genuine, open spirit were admired by her classmates, who knew they could always turn to Lauren with a problem, confident that she would give her all to help them. This innate selflessness was not just a phase. It was fundamental to her character. At the tender age of 12, she traveled to New Orleans to assist those devastated by Hurricane Katrina. This was not a one-time act of charity. She would return twice more with friends to help flood victims, demonstrating a maturity and commitment to humanitarianism far beyond her years. These selfless journeys spoke volumes about her character, proving that, even as a young girl, she consistently prioritized the needs of others. Her warmth was like a gentle, inner light that touched everyone she encountered, parents, friends, teachers, and acquaintances alike. At Wayland High School, Lauren was a standout student, recognized not only for her academic dedication but also for her enthusiastic involvement in every facet of school life. She was a force of nature, participating in sports, concerts, academic competitions, and community service projects, leaving an indelible mark wherever she went. During these formative high school years, she blossomed, coming into her own with a confidence and style that many of her friends admired and sought to emulate. She became something of a trendsetter, not because she was focused on fashion, but because her vibrant energy and authentic personality were magnetic. It was during this time that she embarked on her first serious relationship, beginning to date a boy she had known for years, Nathaniel Fuja. Nathaniel, who also attended Wayland High, was in many ways Lauren's opposite. While she was petite and artistic, he was a tall, serious, and imposing athlete. As the star player on the school's football team, he was known for his incredible speed and athletic prowess. He was one of the most popular students in school, the object of admiration and the subject of cheers from the bleachers at every game. Yet, despite the attention he received, his heart belonged entirely to the cheerful, lively Lauren Astley. Their relationship began in their senior year, a classic high school romance between the star athlete and the beloved singer. Nathaniel was the only son of Beth and Tom Fuja. His father, Tom, was a well-known and exceptionally talented guitarist who also held a teaching position at Boston's prestigious Berklee College of Music. Tom's creative pursuits and musical achievements made him a respected figure in the community. In a poignant intersection of their lives, Lauren had even interviewed Tom Fuja in 2010 for a school project, a video that was later uploaded to YouTube, capturing a moment of innocent connection between the two families. Because of her relationship with Nathaniel, Lauren became a frequent and welcomed guest in Beth and Tom's home. The two sets of parents also became acquainted, maintaining a friendly and regular correspondence. For the first 2 years, the relationship between Nathan and Lauren seemed idyllic. They were the picture-perfect high school couple, spending their time together playing sports, hanging out with friends, and enjoying the carefree days of youth. Many who knew them thought they were a perfect match, a complementary blend of artistic and athletic energy. But as time went on, the smooth surface of their romance began to show cracks. Disagreements, once rare, started to creep into their interactions, becoming more frequent and more intense. Their once steady relationship devolved into a turbulent and emotionally draining ride. They fell into a toxic, repeating pattern, a period of intense arguments followed by a painful breakup, which would then lead to a tearful reconciliation, only for the entire cycle to begin again. One day, they could be deeply in love, sharing dreams and kisses. The next, they would be intensely irritated by everything the other did, finding fault in the smallest of actions. Relationships of this nature are not uncommon, even among mature adults. But for two teenagers on the cusp of the rest of their lives, the emotional whiplash was particularly taxing. A significant source of the conflict was Nathaniel's burgeoning jealousy. Despite being the one who often drew attention from other girls, he was intensely possessive of Lauren. He grew resentful, feeling that she dedicated more of her time and emotional energy to her countless activities and other people than she did to him. He failed to understand that her engagement with the world was what made her who she was. Instead, he viewed it as a personal slight, a diversion of affection that he felt was rightfully his. As senior year progressed, Lauren began to think seriously about her future. The world was opening up before her, and she was contemplating which college she would attend and what path she wanted her life to take. It was during this period of introspection and forward thinking that she had a painful but necessary realization. Nathan no longer fit into the life she envisioned for herself. She had grown weary of the constant emotional strain, the arguments, and the possessiveness that had come to define their relationship. She began to consider ending it for good, not as part of their cyclical drama, but as a final, clean break. Senior year is a natural turning point, a final step from the sheltered world of high school toward the vast possibilities of adulthood. At 18, the world feels wide open, filled with opportunities to build a career, meet new people, and embrace exciting experiences. For Lauren, the next monumental step was college, and she was eager and ready to take it. She had set her sights on Elon University in North Carolina, a place where she could continue to grow and explore her passions. Nathaniel, meanwhile, had committed to Trinity College in Connecticut, where he had been recruited to play football, the fulfillment of a dream he had held since childhood. Lauren's friends had been first-hand witnesses to the turmoil in her relationship and were deeply concerned for her well-being. Wanting to support her, they sat down with her and collaboratively created a list, a concrete enumeration of the reasons she should end things with Nathan for good. The list was a damning indictment of his behavior, his quick and unpredictable temper, his extreme, suffocating jealousy, his increasingly aggressive behavior, and most disturbingly, the disrespect he sometimes showed even toward his own mother. After reflecting on this list and her own exhaustion, Lauren made her final decision. On April 1, 2011, her 18th birthday, she broke up with Nathan. She would later describe that day to her friends as one of the best of her life, a day of liberation and hope. The timing was logical and practical. With both of them heading to different colleges in different states in the fall, it was the natural point to move on and begin their separate adult lives. For Nathaniel, however, the breakup was anything but a fresh start. He did not see it as a natural transition, but as a catastrophic, world-ending loss. The dream he had worked so hard for, the college football scholarship, suddenly lost all its meaning. His entire focus, his entire world, had narrowed to the singular, agonizing fact of his relationship with Lauren Astley. The once energetic and highly motivated young man who was constantly training and staying active began a rapid and alarming decline. He withdrew completely into himself, spending most of his days languishing on the couch, his expression distant and depressed. He cut off contact with his friends, stopped socializing entirely, and abandoned all his former routines. During this dark period, he began drinking heavily and smoking marijuana on a daily basis, attempting to numb the pain of his perceived loss. Even though Lauren had been the one to end the relationship months earlier, her compassionate nature meant she still worried about him. She couldn't bear to see someone she had once been so close to, someone she had once loved, in so much pain. On several occasions, she hesitantly asked her friends if she should reach out to him to try and help him through his depression. Each time, her friends strongly advised her against it. They warned her not to give him any false hope, any reason to believe that their relationship might be rekindled, fearing it would only prolong his agony and her entanglement in it. In the summer of 2011, after the pomp and circumstance of high school graduation, Lauren was eager to enjoy her final months at home, surrounded by the warmth of her family and the comfort of her friends. To celebrate the beginning of this exciting new chapter in their lives, her friends organized a large graduation party. Under a sprawling tent in a backyard, about 150 students and recent graduates gathered. The air was filled with music, laughter, and the optimistic buzz of futures waiting to unfold. Among the guests was Lauren's ex-boyfriend, Nathan. As Lauren was chatting happily with a group of friends, Nathan, already heavily intoxicated, approached her. He began pleading with her, attempting to reconcile, to turn back the clock to a time she had firmly decided to leave behind. Lauren, however, stood her ground. She told him firmly but calmly to leave her alone. In her mind, the conversation was over. Everything had been discussed, dissected, and decided months ago. There was absolutely no reason to rehash the painful details of their breakup yet again. Furthermore, she knew that in his drunken state, Nathan would be incapable of having a rational or meaningful conversation. But Nathan, his judgment clouded by alcohol and his heart clouded by obsession, could not accept her rejection. The thought of her moving on, of her being happy with someone else, was unbearable to him. He refused to take no for an answer, relentlessly pestering and pressuring her throughout the night. At one point, the emotional assault became too much, and Lauren broke down in tears, confiding in a friend that Nathan simply would not leave her alone. He trailed her like a shadow, his presence a dark cloud over the celebration. He was determined to stop her from talking or dancing with anyone else, his jealousy flaring with every passing minute. His anger, fueled by a steady stream of alcohol, continued to escalate. When Lauren once again refused to engage with him, his rage boiled over. In a shocking display of violence, Nathan stormed up to one of the main tent poles and struck it with all his strength. The impact was so forceful that it caused the entire structure to shudder and collapse onto the partygoers. The tent was quickly lifted and put back in place by a group of stunned students, but the festive mood had been irrevocably shattered. The incident transformed the atmosphere from celebratory to tense and fearful. Now, it wasn't just Lauren telling Nathan to leave. It was a chorus of voices from all corners of the party. The celebration was effectively ruined, brought to an abrupt and ugly end by his uncontrolled fury. Later that night, a shaken Lauren recounted the event to her mother. She explained how Nathan had refused to let her go, how he was furious that she had ended their relationship, angry that she wouldn't speak to him, and bitter over the simple fact that she seemed happy without him. His behavior had crossed a line from heartbroken to menacing. For a little while after the party, things seemed to quiet down. Lauren focused on her summer, taking a job at a clothing store in the Natick Mall to earn some money before heading off to college. On Sunday, July 3, 2011, she arrived for her shift at 10 a.m. The mall's security cameras captured her entering at 9:45 a.m., a normal young woman on her way to a normal summer job, riding the escalator up to the store. At 6:45 p.m., her shift ended. She was seen on camera again, leaving the building while talking on her cell phone. Tragically, this would be the last time anyone saw Lauren Astley alive. She had made plans to meet up with friends for a walk after her shift, a casual end to a summer day. But she never showed up. As the minutes ticked by, her friends grew concerned. This was completely out of character for Lauren. She was meticulously responsible. If something had come up and she couldn't make it, she would have called or texted. Her father, Malcolm, was also becoming increasingly worried. He knew her routine. She had planned to drive home from work, change her clothes, and then head out to meet her friends. But she never made it home. The break from her normal, predictable routine sent an immediate and powerful jolt of fear through him. Trusting his paternal instinct that something was terribly wrong, Malcolm didn't hesitate. He called the police right away to report his daughter missing. News of Lauren Astley's disappearance spread like wildfire through the tight-knit town of Wayland, leaving friends, family, and acquaintances deeply shocked and concerned. In many missing person cases, authorities might typically wait a certain period, often 24 hours, before launching a full-scale investigation, especially for an adult. But in Lauren's case, everything moved with urgent speed. The immediate and certain fear expressed by her father and friends, combined with her unblemished record of reliability, convinced police that this was a critical situation. As soon as Malcolm contacted the authorities, the search began in earnest. That same night, the investigation yielded its first significant and ominous discovery. Police located Lauren's car, a distinctive red Jeep, parked at the town beach. The windows were rolled down, an unsettling detail that suggested a hasty departure or an interruption. Inside the vehicle were her bag and her laptop, items she would not likely have left behind voluntarily. But Lauren herself was nowhere to be found. The scene offered no immediate clues about where she might have gone after leaving her car. The moment Malcolm heard that his daughter's Jeep had been found, he rushed to the beach. Consumed by a desperate, primal hope, he ran from his own vehicle straight toward the dark water, as if he still had a chance to save her from some unseen peril. With a flashlight cutting a nervous beam through the blackness, he scoured the shoreline, his voice calling her name into the unfeeling night. But she was nowhere to be found. Lauren's friends, terrified after hearing about the abandoned Jeep, also converged on the beach. They spent the night huddled together by the shore, their eyes fixed on the dark waves, doing nothing but waiting, wondering, and praying. At that moment, caught in a state of suspended disbelief, none of them allowed their minds to consider the possibility that she had been seriously harmed. Police began the methodical process of questioning Lauren's close friends and family, trying to build a picture of her final hours and to determine if anyone might have had a reason to hurt her. Initially, no one could think of a single person who would wish harm upon the kind-hearted and beloved young woman. However, as officers pressed for more details about her personal life, they learned about her recent, difficult breakup. Despite this, all of Lauren's friends were quick to defend Nathan. They insisted that while he could be moody and was clearly upset about the breakup, he could never physically hurt her. They simply didn't see him as dangerous. But the police, with their experience in such cases, knew that jealousy and rejection are powerful and often violent motives. They already knew the name Nathaniel Fuja. As part of their initial inquiries that same evening, detectives went to his home. There, they spoke with both Nathan and his mother, Beth. He claimed he had been home the entire evening, providing a convenient, if not particularly strong, alibi supported only by his mother. Nathan did tell the officers that he had, in fact, seen Lauren earlier that day. According to his account, she had stopped by his house for about 5 minutes but never got out of her car. He described their conversation as brief and awkward, after which she drove away. He claimed he hadn't seen her since. On the surface, his story seemed plausible, if a little strange. The officers were aware, however, of the profound emotional toll the breakup had taken on him. They knew he had withdrawn, grown depressed, and ceased all his normal activities. Beth, his mother, had been deeply concerned for her son's mental health. She had taken him to see a therapist, but it had brought no real improvement. Desperate to find a way to help him cope, she had even gone to the mall where Lauren worked without telling Nathan, hoping to speak with Lauren and perhaps find some way to bridge the gap or provide comfort to her son. She had also asked her own ex-boyfriend to speak with Nathan, man to man, thinking it might help him process his emotions and begin to heal. The following morning, as the first rays of dawn began to break the darkness, a cyclist riding along a road near the highway made a grim and horrifying discovery. Passing a marshy, overgrown area, she noticed something unusual floating in the dark water. Her curiosity tinged with alarm, she stopped her bike and moved closer to the edge of the road for a better look. In a heart-stopping moment of realization, she saw that it was the body of a young woman. It was Lauren Astley, found just 5 miles from the center of town. The night before, her friends had kept their hopeful vigil on the beach near her abandoned red Jeep, still trying to piece together where she could have gone. Now, their worst fears were realized in the most brutal way imaginable. The students who had sat by the shore, unsure of what to do or how to feel, were now confronted with an unbearable reality. It was almost impossible for them to comprehend that the same vibrant girl they had shared laughter and dreams with just the day before was now gone forever. Her body was found floating about 30 feet from the road. Once it was carefully brought to shore, the cause of death became chillingly apparent. A state police detective gently pulled back the collar of her shirt and discovered a deep, fatal wound to her neck. 18-year-old Lauren Astley had suffered a severe throat slash. An elastic bungee-style cord was found tangled in her hair. Her body was quickly transported to the medical examiner's office for a full autopsy. All the while, Malcolm Astley clung to a desperate sliver of hope that there had been a mistake, that the body found was not his daughter. That final hope was extinguished when he was asked to perform the most heartbreaking task a parent can ever endure: to formally identify the body of his only child. Lauren, who had just turned 18, who was so vibrant, musically gifted, and standing on the threshold of a promising future, was gone. Malcolm had to present proper identification, and the moment he saw her, he knew it was Lauren. The pain was unbearable, a physical and emotional agony that threatened to consume him. Yet, through his own grief, he still had to find the strength to break the devastating news to Lauren's mother, his ex-wife. The news of the discovery and the violent nature of her death sent shockwaves throughout the town. Friends who had once looked at Lauren and Nathan as the happy, ideal couple spoke with disbelief, insisting that Nathan could never have done something so monstrous to the woman he loved. Many found it difficult to accept that the situation was real. The police, however, suspected otherwise. After their initial conversation with Nathan and his family, they learned just how deeply the breakup had affected him. He was no longer the cheerful, admired football player. Heartbroken and rejected, Nathan had grown bitter and withdrawn. The sport he had once dreamed of playing since childhood no longer held any interest for him. Investigators pieced together Lauren's final hours. Security cameras at the mall had captured her speaking on her phone as she left work. Her phone records confirmed what police now suspected. She had been talking to Nathan. It was he who had called her multiple times that day. Lauren, perhaps out of kindness or a sense of obligation, had agreed to meet with him. She had decided to stop by his house for just 5 minutes before heading home to change for her evening plans. She hadn't told anyone about this change of plans. When she arrived at his house, she knew his parents weren't home. She sent him a single-word text message. Here. It was her way of letting him know she was outside. Delivered on July 3rd at 7:05 p.m., it was the last message Lauren ever sent. The last place she was seen alive was Nathan's house, which gave the police their first clear and powerful lead. On July 4th, officers returned to the Fuja home to speak with Nathan again, this time with a much greater sense of urgency. But he was gone. His parents claimed they had no idea where he was. Undeterred, the investigation pressed forward. Authorities needed concrete, physical evidence to support their growing suspicion that Nathan was involved. They quickly obtained a warrant to search his home, beginning their painstaking work in the garage. What they found there immediately suggested something horrific had occurred. They found an elastic cord similar to the one found with Lauren's body. More damningly, officers discovered multiple traces of blood. There was blood on the garage floor, on the doorknob, in the kitchen sink, and in the bathroom sink. It was clear that someone had made a significant, albeit imperfect, attempt to clean the surfaces and wash away the evidence of a violent struggle. In the basement, investigators discovered a black sports bag containing a pair of trainers completely caked in thick, dark mud. In the attic, accessible by a ladder from Nathan's bedroom, they found another pair of shoes, along with a pair of blood-stained boots and bloody clothing. At first glance, the mud on the trainers seemed identical to the soil and muck found in the marshy area where Lauren's body was discovered. This crucial piece of evidence required immediate analysis by the state crime lab. The results came back quickly and left no room for doubt. DNA analysis confirmed that the blood on Nathan's clothes and boots belonged to Lauren Astley. The mud was indeed a perfect match to the soil from the marsh. Following these definitive findings, Nathaniel Fuja was officially placed on the wanted list as a suspect in Lauren's murder. He was located just a few hours later at his cousin's home in a nearby town. Shortly after midnight on July 5, 2011, the 18-year-old former football star was taken into custody and charged with the murder of his ex-girlfriend. When police arrested Nathaniel Fuja, he remained chillingly silent and unresponsive during questioning. This detached, emotionless demeanor would continue for several months, right up until the start of his trial. Whether it was a calculated move out of fear of self-incrimination or a genuine inability to explain his monstrous actions, Nathan offered no insight into the events of that night. On August 23, 2011, Nathan appeared in court for a preliminary hearing. When the judge asked for his plea, he spoke so softly that it was barely audible, stating, "Not guilty." It became immediately apparent to the prosecutor that his defense team was preparing to argue an insanity-based strategy. Nathan was formally charged with first-degree murder, as well as assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. During that hearing, more disturbing details emerged about the night Lauren was killed. It was revealed that she had additional injuries, indicating a struggle before her death. The prosecution also introduced testimony from Nathan's cousin. The night before the crime, Nathan had called her and invited her to hang out. When she declined, explaining that she had other plans, Nathan became inexplicably angry and hung up on her. The next day, after learning of Lauren's death, the cousin called Nathan to see if he was aware of what had happened. His response was bone-chilling. He told her, "The murder weapon will never be found." Nathan also admitted to his cousin that he had driven Lauren's red Jeep to the city beach parking lot, offering the strange explanation that he needed a break and wanted to spend time with her. By the end of the hearing, the prosecutor requested that Nathan be held without bail, and the court agreed. About a month before the trial was set to begin, another hearing on pre-trial motions took place, revealing even more disturbing information about the suspect's history. Investigators had uncovered an incident from 2009. During one of their off-again phases, Lauren had attended a school dance with friends. Among the attendees was a young man who had previously shown interest in her. With her relationship with Nathan on hold, Lauren decided to give a new romance a chance. The two danced together and even shared a kiss. Suddenly, Nathan appeared out of nowhere. In a fit of rage, he forcefully shoved the young man and threatened to slit his throat if he ever approached Lauren again. Over time, the incident had faded into the background. Lauren's friends and family had never witnessed any clear signs of physical abuse in the relationship, but they were aware of Nathan's possessive nature and his jealousy, and they knew his temper worsened considerably when he was drinking. This confrontation from 2 years prior, however, revealed the true depth of Nathan's violent anger and jealousy. In light of the wounds found on Lauren's body, his earlier threat took on a dark and prophetic meaning, hinting that the capacity for such violence had been lurking within him for years. It also became clear during this hearing that Nathan's defense team would fully commit to a lack of criminal responsibility defense. While this wouldn't clear him of the act itself, They hoped it could significantly reduce his punishment by arguing he was not mentally sound when he committed the crime. By the time Nathan's trial began on February 13, 2013, 18 long months had passed since Lauren Ashley's death. From the very outset, the defense team made their strategy clear. They claimed Nathan was legally insane at the time of the killing, and they held fast to this narrative throughout the 3-week trial. In his opening statement, Nathan's lawyer made a stunning admission, openly stating that Nathan had killed Lauren. But, he argued, the real questions were how and why. The defense insisted that Nathan had not stalked Lauren in the weeks following their final breakup. He hadn't driven by her home, called her incessantly, or sent her threatening text messages. According to them, he had done the opposite. He had withdrawn completely, avoiding people, places, and all his former activities. Friends of both Lauren and Nathan confirmed this, testifying that Nathan had indeed withdrawn from everyone, stopped attending football training sessions, and avoided conversations. His friends and former teachers had grown deeply concerned because his behavior had changed so drastically in just 2 months. The lawyer argued that Nathan was suffering from a severe mental illness. This wasn't just heartbreak over a breakup, the defense claimed. This was a genuine mental disorder. His mother, Beth, had convinced him to see a psychiatrist, who diagnosed him with severe clinical depression. According to the defense, the psychiatrist had recommended medication and therapy, but Nathan had refused both. They constructed a 3-pronged argument for his mental state. First, he was struggling with profound mental health issues brought on by the breakup. Second, he had likely suffered repeated head injuries while playing high school football, which could have led to neurological damage affecting his impulse control and emotional regulation. They claimed that when he grabbed the elastic cord and wrapped it around Lauren's neck, he had no real awareness of what he was doing. His body was acting, but his mind was disconnected from reality. When he repeatedly slashed her throat, he felt no emotion, no connection to the act itself. His actions, they concluded, were the tragic result of insanity, and their entire case rested on this claim. The autopsy results presented by the prosecution painted a harrowing picture of Lauren's final moments. She had sustained more injuries than just strangulation and the fatal cut to her throat. There were clear defensive wounds on her hands and arms, indicating that she had fought back bravely against her attacker. The prosecution then laid out a detailed timeline of Nathan's actions after the murder, arguing that they demonstrated clear-headedness and a deliberate effort to cover up his crime. After killing her, he removed his blood-stained boots, switched to tennis shoes, and walked over 4 miles to the town beach parking lot. There, he abandoned her red Jeep, throwing the keys into a storm drain where investigators later found them. Nathan then returned home on foot, placed Lauren's body in his own vehicle, and drove to the remote wetlands. He waded 33 feet through thick muck to dispose of her body, believing she would sink to the bottom and never be found. But he was wrong. Prosecutors argued that this complex series of actions was not the behavior of someone in a psychotic break, but rather the deliberate and methodical work of a cold-blooded killer. The trial was emotionally grueling for everyone involved. By the end, Lauren Ashley's mother sat in silent, profound grief. The state medical examiner delivered the most devastating testimony, telling the court that Lauren had likely remained alive and conscious for several minutes, bleeding out after Nathan strangled her and slit her throat. At that moment, 20-year-old Nathan Fuja, who had remained largely emotionless, hunched forward and wept, appearing to finally grasp the severity of what he had done only when confronted with the reality of his punishment. Nathan's parents were visibly devastated, shaken to their core that their son was capable of committing such an atrocity. They had always shown great care and love for him, and they had also cared deeply for Lauren, treating her as if she were their own daughter. This made their grief twofold, mourning not only for their son's lost future, but also for the Ashley family, who had lost their only child because of him. On March 7, 2013, the jury, after deliberating for a full day, returned its verdict. Nathaniel Fuja was found guilty on all charges. As the verdict was read, a sense of justice, however hollow, was finally served. In Massachusetts, a conviction for first-degree murder carries a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. However, their fight for justice was not over. In January 2024, the Massachusetts Supreme Court overturned a law that required anyone under the age of 21 at the time of their crime to serve a life sentence without parole. This change in the law means that Nathaniel Fuja could one day be eligible for release. Lauren's parents now face a new and agonizing struggle, fearing that the man who so brutally murdered their 18-year-old daughter might one day walk free. They continue to advocate and fight, believing that he should remain behind bars for the rest of his life, a measure of justice for the vibrant, beautiful life he stole.